Now, Syria's army is preparing to enter the northeastern city of Qamishli, another stronghold of the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces. It's part of a crucial ceasefire deal reached between the two sides. These are the latest pictures from inside Qamishli, where SDF forces are awaiting the arrival of government troops. There's a daytime curfew in place in the city, which authorities say is needed to maintain order during the transition.
Our forces are on high alert. We have declared a curfew to prevent any problems. We are now waiting for the Damascus government forces so we can transport them to their positions.
Well, the deployments mark a crucial step in implementing the ceasefire deal, which will see the SDF integrated into the army and the government. On Monday, a contingent of 150 Syrian security personnel started taking over state institutions in the city of Hasakah. We're waiting for a similar operation to take place in Qamishli on Tuesday. The final Kurdish stronghold is Kobani. Syrian forces have positioned personnel on the outskirts of the city in anticipation of entering. Zeina Khodr has the latest from Pirak on the outskirts of the area.
The state is slowly moving into what was an autonomous region, a region governed by the Kurdish-led SDF. You mentioned how internal security forces belonging to the Ministry of Interior entered the city of Hasakah. That happened yesterday. It's the first phase of the implementation of that integration deal between the SDF and the Damascus government. But since then, there has been no movement. We are at the outskirts of the town of Kobani, or otherwise known as Ain Arab. Just a few kilometers from here, the internal security forces have not been able to enter the town as of yet. What we understand, there are logistical issues, security arrangements that need to be put in place. But what we also understand is that not everyone in the SDF is happy about this deal. This is a group that has not been speaking in one voice, that's military command not accepting the decisions taken, if you like, by the political leadership. We saw yesterday in Hasakah how a sniper opened fire at people who were celebrating the arrival of interior security personnel. There were also arrests. So there is still tensions, and what we understand from, as you can see behind me, these are members of the Syrian army. What they're telling us is that this may take some time. It is really a delicate phase, this transition, this handover of power.
To discuss these latest developments in Syria, we're joined now by Hiwa Osman from Erbil in Iraq. He's a former advisor to the Iraqi President Jalal Talabani and Director General of 964media.com. Thank you very much, Ms. Osman, for your time on Al Jazeera. As our correspondents in Syria mentioned there are tensions, of course, but there are also celebrations in cities like Raqqa and Hasakah, people celebrating the return of state authority. How should Kurds interpret this public mood, and how do you as a Kurd feel when you see this?
Well, thank you for hosting me on the show. In fact, there is a big inaccurate picture that's coming out of, unfortunately, some Arab media like Al Jazeera and Arabiya, the Arabic services. I hope English service can do justice for the coverage. The celebrations we saw yesterday, they were by certain Arab communities who lived in Hasakah, and this has somehow caused some tension with the locals. As your correspondent said, the process is extremely delicate, and it should be reported properly to do the peace deal justice. It is an extremely delicate process now. Certain areas, an agreement was signed in Damascus, and the implementation process is very fragile at this stage, I can say. That's why we had to place a team from 964media.com on the ground, and they have been sending us reports that are extremely different, very different from what we have been seeing on some Arab mainstream media. And this is why we had we were pushed to have a permanent stay there.
Right.
The process now is quite delicate.
Indeed.
And there are spoilers on both sides, and any act that is not counted for, or in the absence of real confidence building measures between the two sides, things could escalate again and deteriorate once more. Now, as we speak, the forces have not, up until 10 minutes ago, I was speaking to people on the ground. They have not entered, the security forces have not entered Qamishli yet.
Right.
Kobani is
and this
still
is also
under
what our
siege,
correspondent
no
on the
water.
ground told us. I'm going to jump in there because, you know, when you say that the picture that's being painted on Al Jazeera is not a clear one, what we're seeing from our correspondents are perhaps, as you say, Arab minorities in those areas celebrating, but also when we speak to the Kurds in those areas, they complain about services not being in place and about the Kurdish authorities in place since the war not being able to meet their daily demands, their demands to daily life, to have a daily, respectable daily life. But let me ask you this, sir. There are many people asking today,
Of course, they won't be able to if they are under siege in a place like Kobani.
Okay.
Their electricity, their power is all under Damascus control. Of course, they won't be able to fulfill their daily demands.
Let me just ask you now, with this deal that Damascus and the Kurdish leadership have agreed to, there are many who are asking bluntly today whether the Kurdish dream of self-rule and so on is still a reality. The dream of Rojava, is that still a reality or is it over? How would you answer that today?
Look, Rojava is a reality, and it is on the ground. What we are seeing now on the ground, if it is a matter, and it depends how you translate this dream into reality. If the idea is to translate this or to crush this by bringing troops and forces similar to the days of Saddam Hussein and resort to mass extermination and genocide like what we have seen in Iraq, and we have seen the reaction from the region and from Kurds in the diaspora that this is not on, it is not going to happen. We saw the Kurdish solidarity for that. So definitely we will see a bloodbath, and the name Rojava will be entrenched more. Rojava today is at a crossroads. It can either become a symbol of genocide and mass killing and war and ongoing war, or it can set an example for the settling of the Kurdish issue in the entire Middle East, everywhere else in the Middle East. Today, that's why the ball is in the yards of the politicians, namely Damascus, because they are the power. They can turn it into a place whereby, if they implement the decrees that President Shara has signed and turn it into rights, entrenched rights, in the constitution, then Rojava can take a different path.
But can I ask you this? Let me ask you this, sir, because this is a complex issue, of course, this issue of the Kurds. They are often described as a single people, but they are divided by language, they are divided by ideology and geography also. Is it realistic to expect political unity among Kurds who speak different languages even? I mean, isn't that a reality today that you can identify more with tribe than ideology?
Well, Kurds, like any other nation, if you say Arabs are divided by language, then Kurds are too. There are two dialects. There are no two languages. And with the recent acts, I'm in Erbil, in Iraqi Kurdistan, with the recent events in Rojava over the past year, every single Kurd from Iraq, for example, who's supposed to have a different dialect than the Kurmanji Kurdish, has learned Kurmanji, and vice versa. So language is no longer an issue anymore, thanks to media outlets and the social media that has connected the people. Ideology is the same everywhere, apart from countries like, let's not mention them for reasons of your place, for example. There are only certain countries have one ideology. Every lively political people have different ideologies, and this is very normal. In Iraqi Kurdistan, it is the Iraqi Kurdistan region, but it has many ideologies. It has Islamist, it has secular, liberal, and they are cohabiting or coexisting together. Ideological division doesn't constitute the ground for is not an excuse not to give people rights. When you give people constitutional rights in the Syrian constitution, you're not going to say this is for those who hold the right-wing ideology or those who hold
Okay,
Islamist
then let me ask you this. How do Kurdish leaders then explain, how do Kurdish leaders explain compromise, that the one they're making in Syria today? How do they explain this compromise to a population raised on the idea of autonomy and self-defense, as you say?
It was explained very clearly by General Mazloum the day of the signature, the day of the implementation. He said it is not what we had hoped for, but it is not the end. And he said very clearly, he said it in Kurdish to the Kurdish public, he said what we have achieved is better than having nothing, but it is not what we had aspired for. And now politics kicks in. We have to enter into talks with Damascus, see where things will stop, and where are our aspirations, and what are our bottom lines. Both sides, I think, now realize that from now on, it's a new phase of politics, of relationship between the two. It is key that both sides resort to the negotiation table, and the Kurds generally hope that Damascus can act independently, Damascus decisions can be independent, away from external regional influences like Turkey, for example, who has another score to settle with the Kurds, and the Syrians shouldn't be paying the price for that.
We will leave it there. Thank you very much for speaking to us and bringing us the Kurdish perspective there. Hiwa Osman joining us from Erbil. Thank you for your time.
Don't miss out the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.